Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Aussie Tech Security. I hope this episode finds you well and warm. It's nice and warm on the Goldies. I bet there's not too many other places in Australia that you can say that, but it's a beautiful day up here. Not a cloud in the sky looking out. As I said, this is episode 30 and we are brought to you by Aussie Tech Heads Web Hosting. You can find that at athwebhosting.com.au. All your hosting needs, install WordPress at about 3 clicks and a couple of keystrokes and you've got a WordPress installed for your blog or for whatever you need, your business page. And also rniconsulting.com.au. And you can contact Roger at SME Security on the Twitter or follow the links on his site. Roger is the CEO of RNICT Consulting Services, #1 selling author on cybercrime on Amazon and author of the Digital Security Toolbox plus more. And we're going to hear from him right now. Hello, Roger.
Wow.
Hey.
It looks like I can walk on water, but I can't.
Oh, give it time. Give it time. How you been? All right?
Yes, thanks, Glenn. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. Yeah, pretty good. All right. So you would have, by the time you hear this, what was that little course you had going in Canberra? The
intensive.
Yes.
Yeah, that went ahead, and we had 9 people there, which was really good.
Excellent.
It opened the eyes of a few people. We got some really good feedback from it, which we haven't really done anything with yet, but we are going to start putting it on the website and using that as a platform to get it out to others.
Nice.
So it was quite impressive. So
now, was that successful? I hear that you are planning more around the country this time.
Well, yes. We're going to step back because we were a tad ambitious, as you can understand. We're going to do another one in Newcastle, but we haven't got a date yet. We're going to do another one in Canberra, probably end of September, beginning of October.
Right.
We're going to do one in Wagga Wagga on the 13th of October.
Wow.
We're going to do we're doing one in Perth. So all of the Perth listeners, I suggest you jump on the bandwagon and have a listen. On the 30th of October, and then we're actually doing one in Albany on the 1st of November.
Now, is there any planning into these where you go? Like, why have you picked Albany and Perth? Is there any reason?
No, not really.
Dartboard?
I have to, well, that would have helped. I have to go to, yeah. Oh, look, let's go there.
Yes.
I had to go to Perth anyway, so I thought, well, while I'm there, I might as well do this and see if it's going to be effective.
Yes.
I'm going to employ a PR company, maybe a copywriter, that type of thing, to get some really good ideas out there, get it discussed about in Australia, in WA.
Yes, nice.
And also, I've got to go down and see my mother, who's down in Albany. So I thought I'd do the same thing as well. So
there we go.
The idea is just to get business owners, business people, CEOs, legal people, accountants, all of these people who have their own clients.
Yep.
If they are interested in coming and bringing someone along, then that would probably be a benefit to both people.
Yeah, well, that's right. Like a lot of companies, as you know, like with these, I know these ransomware viruses, like the second wave of attack hit because the first wave people still didn't update their Windows.
Well, this is the problem. It was quite funny when we were doing the first intensive, when we went through all of the people. We sent everybody an email. Try again, a letter with one of these in it. Okay, yes. And this is a round to it. Okay. Because most people will never get round to doing anything about their cybersecurity. And we followed that up with an email and a phone call. And it was the email and the phone call that were really eye-openers. We constantly kept getting, when talking to the CEOs and directors, owners of companies, that this is not their problem. And I think this is something that we really need to change the attitude of. And this is one of the reasons why I've taken this on, because the attitude is what is going to cause us bigger problems than what is.
I think the best example that you could probably put in front of him was, what was that IT? I think it was a web hosting firm or IT firm where they got DDoSed or something, went down for quite some time, and apparently lost a lot of business. I forget the name of them now. It escapes me. It was a well-known one.
I know which one you're talking. Yeah, yes.
Yeah, and I think I'm not sure. There must have been some sackings or whatever, or what came out of it. But yeah, at the end of the day, the buck does stop with the boss. So
yeah, well, that's right. And what people don't realise is an insignificant email that comes into someone who doesn't think. And you're now in a really big situation of, do you get your data back? Are you able to access it? Has someone stolen it? All of these things then come crashing down on you. And unless you're actually being relatively proactive about the whole process, then you are going to be reacting every time something happens.
And I know, just before we get into this week's topic, I think just something that I picked up through the week as well was like a lot of people I've been getting that, I back up onto Google Drive. Great, good work. That's excellent.
That's a good start.
Yes, but it's not right. It's not the full what you should be doing, because the Google Drive is still potentially, it's not versioned. So as I explained to people, that I know I've already covered backup, but this is a bit of an extension. But as I explained to people, you're working on a document, ABC, or call it budget 2017, right, in a Word document. And you're saving it, you're working it all up to Google Drive. I'm safe as houses, no worries. And then for whatever reason, say that the receptionist or your kids or whatever, they get a hold of that document. They what's this? I'll read Dad's budget or whatever. And so they read it and they go, that's nice. Select all, delete, save. And so then it just saves as a blank page, replicates back up to the Google Drive. You've lost it.
Yep.
So you need versioning, which a proper backup provider can give you.
Yeah. Well, we've just come across. I suppose we're helping a mate out. He runs a company called Solid Data, and Solid Data is an offsite backup system, and that's exactly what we do. Is we have a 90-day retention rate of any documents that's saved. Okay, so even after the 90 days, there's still a really good chance that you can get it back. But every time it's changed and it is part of the backup, it is then uploaded to the cloud, which we have control over. And that way you're protected in a larger number of ways and scenarios than what you were before.
Yeah, that's right. So have a look into that for your backups. Now, look, one of the topics this week, if we have time, we'll do another one. But one of the topics is Medicare numbers. Been in the news a bit of late about the Medicare, leak or hack, whatever you want to call it.
Well, one of the things about this whole thing was the moment this came out and hit the news, the first thing the Department of Health decided to do was, we're safe. Well, to tell you the truth, yes, they probably are safe. They invest a lot of money in protecting that data. It has encryption, everything else. The trouble is the people who are using these Medicare cards are single doctors in surgeries, they are pharmacists, they are people who are not, whereas the Department of Health would be a primary target, these people are not primary targets. But what they don't realise is they're connected to the internet. Some of the practices that these people utilise when it comes to, let's call it digital hygiene, is not the best. And that means that the information that these people are collecting, the people that manage the data they're managing, is very, very easy to compromise if you know what you're doing and you know who they are. We've come across a large number of applications that are both pharmacy-based and medical-based that are, let's just say they're insecure.
Yes. Well, I guess it wasn't too long ago. Like I went to the doctor, and I'm sure things have changed. Say last year, right? Yeah. And running XP on the machines, you know, and I get it. I know because they're running their medical. Was it the doc? No, it was the optometrist. That's right. So he's got all these whiz bang machines floating around in front of your face, and it's all and it's all looks like it's controlled by an XP machine that he taps away on. And if that machine, which I guess it is, hooked up to the internet,
it'll definitely be hooked up to a network.
Yeah,
and this is the other thing that people forget. If it's on a network, then it is visibly it's targetable from the internet. Whether it means I have to do a lot of work by getting into the network and then traversing the network, but if on a network, if it's connected to other computers, then it is a target, and people just don't take this to heart. It really is frustrating when you say to someone, this is this is on your network. Fair enough, it doesn't access the internet because nobody has a need to. But what happens if someone gets in there and does access the internet on it?
Yeah.
Because it's on a network, it's been set up to access the internet because everything that Microsoft and Apple and Linux now do relies on it being able to connect to the internet. That type of thing is the problem.
And I guess, like potentially you could be, say, sitting on the train next to your optometrist and having a chat about his network and blah, 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 and his machine. And you go, look, I'll show you I can log into my office from here on the free train Wi-Fi. And woohoo!
Don't say that.
But I guess, things like that could happen, and that's where it goes. But I suppose, I know this is probably turning into a different subject, but okay, so you've got a net. What's the best thing that you can do to protect that network then? Like, is it just to keep updates, or would you recommend getting like firewalls, routers? Like, what's the main thing that you can do?
The main thing is you've got to have a systematic approach. Okay, and what we're finding is you don't have to invest lots and lots of dollars all at once, all at the same time. You can do it over a staggered period. And what you need to do is look at your network and go, okay, we've got XP machines. Let's update them to Windows 10 because you can't get anything else. If we update them to Windows 10, are the applications going to work? If we can't get the applications work, can we roll it back to Windows 8 or Windows 7? But as long as we get Windows XP out of the network, then we're already taking those first steps. Then look at things like your Wi-Fi and your router. Are they something that were delivered from the ISP? Because if they were, Telstra, for instance, the first person who sets it up, all of the settings are really easy to access. If you've ever set up a Telstra router on a PC, it's quite scary because they have no requirement for usernames and passwords because they're embedded in the systems. Yes, they are complex, but it's easy enough to get at. And people then forget that this is connected to the internet. People can target it because that's how they work.
Because I guess, I went out to I think I did a job at a coffee shop the other day, and you go out, you're doing Wi-Fi. A few problems at the coffee shop. They were offering Wi-Fi to the customers. Nice, good service, but it was their Wi-Fi. Everything was on the same network. Their tills, their whatever, everything. So we sorted that, and then also you go, okay, well, I've got the Wi-Fi password, so I had to change something in the router. So I go, the router, admin password, yes.
Admin blank, admin password, admin.
Yeah, that's right. So I could guess it and then change it. But look, let's back to the Medicare. Is there anything else about this thing? Where were we going with that?
Well, Medicare is our social security number for what the US citizens use. Now, we were told originally there was a big hoo-ha in 1980s about the Australia card and having a number that reflected everybody. Well, Australians have got two, the tax file number and your Medicare number. With both of those numbers, people can actually impersonate you because those are the type of information that the bad guys are really after. Now, if I can go into the dark web onto a chat room and actually purchase someone's Medicare number, not only am I going to get their Medicare number, I'm going to get their address, I'm going to get their phone number, email address, and there's going to be a large number of other information. And if it was a proper hack on a doctor or a pharmacy, I'm going to get what the hell you purchased from them as well. So I can actually then extrapolate and say, well, hey man, did you know that you have we know that you have syphilis, for instance. How about we tell the internet about it?
Right. Okay, yes.
So we now have the blackmail scenario on it. What people forget is everything that we used to consider was out of form, bad practice, all of that sort of stuff is really, really available on the internet. And still seeing threats, we're still seeing blackmail, we're seeing just basic theft of information. All of this happens on the digital world, and there's no cops on the corner anymore.
No, and I guess it's not just your own personal information. With Medicare, well, if you're the primary card holder, you've got your wife, your partner, your kids, and whatever else on there. And I guess all that information is all tied up. So if they can get in, they'll get in and get everything.
That's right.
Yeah.
So in that respect, you are going to get a lot of information that is very, very personal and very identifiable to that person individually.
So, what do you think? Do you think the government is like? Why is this happening? Like, are they just slack in areas, or are the crims is it just hard to keep up with? The never-ending thing.
All of the above. They are changing. They're very adaptive. So anything that they hear about, know about, even discover themselves is then actually used as a targeting process. In addition to that, the people who they're targeting have really got. We keep running into this this trio of objections. We are too small to be a target. It's not our problem. Why would anybody steal information from us?
Yeah. So you're saying that is that the government's mentality?
No. That's the small business mentality.
Yeah.
Government are actually now starting to take big steps about this, but it costs a lot of money, especially when if you're talking high end. Let's say you're talking high end firewalls. You're talking IDS. You're talking intrusion detection. You're talking high-end sandboxes. All of this sort of stuff they need to do to make their environment secure. But we haven't got the money to do that.
No, that's right. But what about isn't there, was it, I think Centrelink or maybe, and even the banks, like in the older days, before the internet, so before the internet, they had high speed or whatever, connections, right?
Yep.
Between, say, the branch and, say, Canberra, or the branch and head office. Are those connections still there, or are they now just plonked in with everything else? Are there still dedicated lines? Or
no, most of the departments are all connected via high speed connections over VPNs, but they are all connected. So but they also have access to the internet. So somewhere along the line, those high-speed connections have got to go out through a single or multi-locations that go out to the internet. Now, if I know where they are and I know what is in front of them and I can see things like gateways and all that sort of stuff, can I target them? Yes. Am I clever enough to target them? There's only 2 or 3 people in the world who probably would be able to. That then becomes they work on the principle that if they make it as complex as possible to get into the system, then 99.99% of the bad guys will just gloss over it and not worry about it. But what about things like social engineering, phishing attacks, spear phishing attacks? You've got an accountant in your office, and I send the accountant an email that says, please pay this invoice, and attach a piece of malware as an attachment. Now, 99.9% people who haven't been educated will automatically click on that link.
Yeah. So I guess but with these big agencies and with all the governments, with all the health and personal information, do they need to be on the internet? I know they're building customer portals and all this sort of stuff, but is the solution not to offer the customer portal over the internet and just you either got to use a telephone or can they clamp down? Can they sort of put a big barrier around their VPN and go, oh, no more internet for us, we're closed?
Yeah, good luck with that. They could, but I don't think it would work, to tell you the truth. I think the hue and cry from the public would be pretty huge. The impact on the organisation would be pretty huge. People are after safe, convenient ways of accessing the information that they have collected. So
I know a lot of things are going towards this 2-factor authentication. If you don't know what that is, it means you've got to provide 2 factors of authentication, say a password and an SMS to your phone with a password. What is that? How far does that go to alleviate potential issues? Is that good enough, or is that still hackable?
It's still hackable, but it has to be a high-end hack to actually allow it to happen. But 2-factor authentication works really well. If I use my computer to access my bank, it automatically sends me an SMS code that I then have to put into the system. This is a secure system. If I get an SMS and I haven't opened up the browser that says what's 2-factor authentication, and I've got that, my first thought is someone has got hold of my username and password, because the only way that two-factor authentication is going to work is if the username and password combination is correct. So if that username and password combination is correct and it wasn't me, the first thing I do is get onto my bank and change my password, because someone else has now got hold of it.
Yeah. So, I guess like they two factors do annoy you because like passwords annoy you. Annoy me anyway, because you've always you always got, there's so many passwords, and now there's this, because I notice that every time I log into the MyGov or whatever, or to do ATO stuff, whatever. Yeah, it's always two-factor authentication, and I go, oh geez. And then if you've got a provider or whatever that may be a bit slow with the SMSs, that's annoying. You know, like you might be sitting there twiddling your thumbs waiting for the SMS to come through. Annoying. Yep. But getting back to the government, what's do they, have you ever heard of them offering bounties? Bug bounties like the private.
No, not government. No. Most of the private organisations now do. If they write code, they will have a bounty process, whether you make lots and lots of money out of it. But if you think about it, if I find for instance, what WannaCry was based on, if that had been brought to the notice when it was first discovered and it had been patched properly and done all the right things, then WannaCry wouldn't have been around. The reason why WannaCry came around is the shadow brokers stole it from the NSA, which then comes back to say, well, the NSA should have known better. Yeah. How did the information that the NSA actually have stolen get stolen in the first place? And again, we don't hear about this because it's secret.
and I guess what most of the time you only hear about, or as a company, do you only know about this the siphoning of information once it's out in the world? Is that?
That's right.
That's it. There's no checks and balances like say I don't know, like error checking. There's nothing. It's just once it's out, and once you've been pwned, you've been pwned.
That's right. And definitely.
That's the only way you know about it. That's no good at all, is it?
No.
So, what do you reckon the government can do with say Medicare? What do they do?
They are starting to put a lot of encryption components around things like applications that access Medicare to get rebates and payments and all that sort of stuff. So, in other words, I can walk into a doctor, have a consultation, pay for it on my Medicaid card, pay for the consult, and I get my $35 back the following day, because the connection between the doctor going into the Medicare system is relatively secure, because it's got certificates, it's got systems that are set up, but it still doesn't protect the information that's on the machine that's doing the access. And again, we think that, yes, it's all very secure, but I can look at it. What scares me at the moment is I can look at a computer, or I can look at a digital device, or an Internet of Things, and go, can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? Now, any one of those might be something as really basic as, can I take it apart and have a look at the motherboard? If I can actually get down to that level, okay, how much damage can I do to the system? Not as in destructive damage, but if I wanted to compromise that system, what do I have to do about it?
There's plenty of movies like that, isn't there? Sneak into the computer room, put another chip in or whatever. So that's that's no good. I had another question to ask you there, but that just got out of my brain.
That's all right.
Yeah, it was about the Medicare. That's what I was going to say. It was about the government. We're trying to get everything as secure and tied up as possible with two-factor authentication, encryption. As tight as a fish's what. But then on the other hand, the government is requesting everyone to put back doors into their encryption software.
Don't get me started.
But that's just it just doesn't make sense, does it? So they want their encryption to be rock solid, but everyone else's, let's be able to get into it if we have to.
I just wrote an article about that recently on LinkedIn, and there's a large number of really bad things that can happen from putting either a way of getting into a piece of software because someone has that capability, and allowing someone else to have access to that so they can actually access the information. There's got to be other ways of tracking what the terrorists are doing, what the bad guys are doing, all of this sort of stuff. They should be looking at other ways of doing it, not just saying we want the easy way, which is put in a backdoor to encryption.
I don't know what the answer is. Like, I think, look, I'd be on one in some sort of way. I'd be happy that if all this sort of just took place, without us knowing about it. So, let's say someone from the AFP or whatever, they were able to go in and go, oh, okay, what's this bloke up to? Blah blah blah. We don't know about it. We've still got faith in the security, the encryption and the apps. We've still got all this sort of faith. But if that was ever used in a bad circumstance, like if it was, say, the AFP come to light, the AFP went and looked at your tax return because old mate had a vendetta against you, well, then there should be like a massive, serious consequence for that. But then I guess then if that happens, then we all know then that there's back doors into things.
Yeah,
so then
that's exactly right.
Yeah,
fair enough. The AFP, most policing units have that capability, but everything they do on their system is actually tracked. Everything they do is logged. Everything. If I open up a table about something else that I have no responsibility for, then bells and whistles go off. I get slapped on the wrist and all that sort of stuff, which is how it should be. But again, there are ways around that. And people forget that if there's a way to do it, there's a way to get around it.
And I think, like, just as an example, that there's a lot of government agencies, I imagine, that as you read from now and then, that they're struggling to find programmers because their systems are coded like in COBOL and all this sort of stuff. So
I've got a mate who's just doing he's looking at an application that was developed for a government department in 1996. Yeah. It's still written, still being utilised, and as he said, there were 500,000 lines of code, and he's already removed 100,000 of them.
Oh, jeez.
Because it was subroutines that were no longer there, or there were systems in there that just didn't have to be in there. There were calls to the libraries that no longer exist or have been changed. All of these sort of things. And to tell you the truth, I was quite surprised how the system actually still worked. Yeah. But the only reason it still works is because it's still using 96 technology on the devices that it was using. So, it's a huge problem.
Yeah, and I think they're slowly starting to move on, but it just costs a lot of money, doesn't it? Like, could you imagine reprogramming the social security network or database, like from scratch, like starting again to up-to-date technology? It'd be crazy.
Yeah, but the trouble is we have to look at it in that respect. Every 10 years, these systems should be changed, especially in the light of today's speed of technology change. Every 10 years, they should literally sit down and go, what technology is running, what systems we're running, how can we use the old stuff? If the old stuff is no longer usable, let's go to the new stuff.
All right. Well, I think that we might have to leave it there for this episode, unless you've got anything else you want to continue on. No, that's it. You had enough? Happy?
Yeah.
All right, good stuff. All right, so don't forget, you can search for Roger's Facebook page, Digital Security, on Facebook. Just search for Digital Security. Is that what you search for? I think it is.
Yeah. Or it's 101100DS.
Yeah. Why haven't you got a vanity URL?
Because I tried to get Digital Security and they told me to piss off.
Oh, fair enough then.
Well, and I couldn't be bothered doing anything else at the time when I was setting it up. So
101100.
Yeah.
That's almost if you're a Doctor Who fan, that's almost the coordinates to Gallifrey. Okay.
That's the DS to get you.
You get your coordinates. Okay. All right, good stuff. All right, if you want to look at Roger's personal-ish sort of page, rogersmith.com.au/Roger. You can get me at Glenn at Aussie Techheads on the Twitter, or just email me, Glenn at AussieTechheads.com.au. And thanks very much. Don't forget the ATH web hosting and RNIconsulting.com.au. And we'll see you, Roger, next episode. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Much appreciated, Glenn. Talk to you later.
Thank you. And everyone else, thanks for joining us also. We'll see you next time. Cheers and bye for now. Ta-da.
Bye.